feel so far away up here. Well, first and foremost, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today. Your attendance truly demonstrates your commitment to our soldiers and families. Just seeing so many faces out there, so many familiar faces. It's, you know, in El Paso, it's more than a partnership. It feels like almost a family reunion of friends and partners. I'd like to also thank the First Light Federal Credit Union and the Greater El Paso Chamber of Commerce for hosting today's event. Please join me in a round of applause for this team. I'd also like to welcome our non-commissioned officer of the year, Staff Sergeant Leticia Gallegos, our soldier of the year, Specialist David Fahy, and the citizen of the year, Dr. Diana Natalicio, who's one of our personal heroes. And to make sure I'm on my P's and Q's, I just saw one of my favorite teachers growing up, Mr. Ramirez, who was my Spanish teacher back in 7th grade. He's now the principal of Loretto Academy. So, Mr. Ramirez, wherever you are, good to see you. There he is. You know, in many ways, the future of our nation has been questioned quite a bit lately, politically and especially economically. And so we're going to talk to you a little bit about this past year and then a kind of a view towards the future. And we have a picture of one of my favorite bridges. This is, and I'm going to try to walk in a little bit here. This bridge here was a bridge that was built by the Japanese government as a gift to the Honduran government back in the 1980s. It was a very well-built bridge. Great plans and everything, just very well-built bridge. And then a Category 5 hurricane struck. The bridge still stood. It was an excellent bridge. But unfortunately, that Category 5 hurricane moved the river. So the bridge now leads to nowhere. And use it as kind of an example because we got to be careful. We got to be careful what path we take towards the future. We got to make sure that we are adaptive, we are flexible, so that regardless of what the shifts are in the future, things will happen. We may get the brigade from Germany, we may not. We may get this, we may not. That we are prepared. But it's kind of easy to know in this area here at Team Bliss, with the investment that our nation has made here at Fort Bliss, is that Fort Bliss is really the future of the Army. All you have to do is go outside those doors and see that investment. I'm not talking about the detours and all the construction. It's a wonder that you're able to get here with all the construction going on. But truly, the future of our Army is at Fort Bliss in El Paso in so many ways. Let's roll the video.
Fort Bliss, Texas. Pride of the Southwest. The garrison was originally established in 1848, and in the last 160 years, Fort Bliss has been home to the 8th Infantry Regiment, the 9th Cavalry Regiment, the 1st Cavalry Division, the Army's Air Defense Artillery, the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, and now the 1st Armored Division. Fort Bliss and White Sands, Missouri account for over a quarter of all Army land. Comprised of over 1 million acres, the installation sprawls over 130 miles from the tip of West Texas northward into Mexico. The post's massive training area allows Team Bliss soldiers to fire anything in the United States arsenal, from pistols to guided missiles. Biggs Army Airfield is the longest in the Army and 13th longest in North America. Since September 11, 2001, over 200,000 service members have deployed to operations around the world through Biggs Field. The main cantonment area is located in El Paso, Texas. El Paso, rated one of the safest cities in America, is a vibrant all-American city. Over 70% of Team Bliss families live off-post and enjoy southwestern dining, outdoor activities, and exceptional educational opportunities. Fort Bliss soldiers enjoy the highest quality of life of any installation in the Army. Team Bliss is home to the new Freedom Crossing facility. Freedom Crossing includes the largest PX in the Defense Department. It also has a 10-screen movie theater, numerous dining options, and space for 30 vendors. Looking into the future, Fort Bliss is the home of Brigade Modernization Command. This unique organization develops and tests the latest defense technology the United States has to offer. The equipment tested at Bliss today is for tomorrow's battlefield. Fort Bliss also hosts several joint, interagency, and international organizations, including the Border Patrol and U.S. Customs. As a power projection platform, Team Bliss has 2 brigades of First Army. These units house and train reserve and National Guard elements mobilizing for deployment. The United States Army Sergeant's Major Academy, German Air Force elements, Joint Task Force North, 32nd Army Air Missile Defense Command, and William Beaumont Army Medical Center round out other major Team Bliss units. Fort Bliss is at the leading edge of Army innovation. The post is spearheading the Army's renewable energy efforts. By December of 2015, Team Bliss will use wind, solar, geothermal, biofuels, and energy-efficient construction to become a net zero installation, producing as much energy as it consumes. Serving the nation, Fort Bliss is the most modern installation in the United States Army. From their high quality of life to their lethality in combat, Team Bliss soldiers are the best equipped, best led, and best trained in the world. The future of the Army is here.
What do you think? Can you feel the excitement? Woo! Well, the word is spreading about Team Bliss. Right now, I guess the Lifetime channel picked Fort Bliss out of all Army posts to bring in the directors and writers for the series Army Lines. And they're spending the next 2.5 days here at Fort Bliss. And they're getting an eyeful from, I think, lots of our spouses and soldiers. And where's Lucille? Whoa. Over this past year, we've seen just about a little bit of everything. From deployments of Team Bliss soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, to other deployments, to training, to testing, even an occasional presidential visitor too. We've seen a lot of things here at Team Bliss. I just want to give you kind of a snapshot of what some of our units have done over the past year. Our 32nd Army Air and Missile Defense Command, which many of you may not know, is a command of 10,000, about 10,000 soldiers that are spread out across our country. They're in charge of 4 different air defense artillery brigades, one of which is stationed here at Fort Bliss, 1188 Brigade. But their mission is a worldwide mission, specifically in support of our Central Command area of operations. And anytime a head of state, our head of state, meets with another head of state or diplomats in that area, they always seem to want more air defense. So the 32nd LAUC has been extremely busy this past year. And at any one time, there is always one battalion, the 1180 Brigade, that's deployed. It's a constant deployment. And this past year, Brigadier General John Rossi, who is no stranger to Fort Bliss, assumed command from General Dave Mann earlier this year. We're also very proud of the fact that 32nd LAUC supports our German Air Defense School. And you may not know this, but our German Air Defense School, we have the largest German military footprint in North America. It is right here, between Fort Bliss and White Sands. So we're extremely proud of 32nd LAUC. JTF North. Many of you are familiar with JTF North, but I'm not sure you realize that JTF North, Joint Task Force North's mission is both the border with Mexico as well as Canada. An extremely arduous mission. And they have expanded the relationship with local law enforcement officials as well as interagencies. In fact, according to the NORTHCOM commander, we have the best relationship here between our armed forces and interagency personnel anywhere in the Army. Very, very proud of JTF North. The United States Army Sergeant Major's Academy. As you know, the Sergeant Major's Academy is the premier senior enlisted academic institution in the world. And this past year, and we should be very proud of that, and this past year, we had a change of command. Command Sergeant Major Rory Malloy took command as the Commandant of the Sergeant Major's Academy from the previous Commandant, who was Sergeant Major Chandler, who became our 14th Sergeant Major in the Army. Again, showing the Army's emphasis on the Sergeant Major's Academy. So it took a while to find someone like Sergeant Major Malloy to be the Commandant, but he's a Commandant, and we're very, very proud of that. Our first Army, many of you are familiar with our mobilization and demobilization, but I'm not sure everybody knows that Fort Bliss this last year became the second largest mobilization and demobilization center in our nation. We had one training support brigade, and that was the 5th Armored Brigade, which just recently had a change of command. Colonel Eric Schaub, and his wife is here today. Eric Schaub took command of the 5th Armored Brigade. We've now added, this past year, we now add another training support brigade, which will allow us to increase our capacity even more. And that's commanded by Colonel Kirk Nielsen, who took command of the 402nd FA Brigade. And they're at McGregor, and their training load is huge. This past year, they either trained or mobilized nearly 40,000 soldiers, airmen, Marines, sailors, and even a couple of Coast Guardsmen. How about that? Whoa. And this past year, we also created the Brigade Modernization Command as an Army, which is huge. It was formerly the Future Force Integration Directorate under TRADOC, but it was determined that should be a separate command, Brigade Modernization Command. And Brigadier General Randy Dragon just took command from General Keith Walker. What we have seen with that command as it continues to expand this past year is Fort Bliss and White Sands is becoming really ground zero for the Army's modernization effort. And they just recently finished a network integration evaluation, the core of which was our 2nd Brigade 180 commanded by Colonel Dan Pinnell, which went very, very well this past year. With 1st Armored Division, as you know, 1st Armored Division finally arrived from Germany. The headquarters is now here at Fort Bliss. Oh. And next week, we will dedicate the headquarters. So we're looking forward to everybody coming out to that on August 10th. When you come out, also, please take a look at our tour of the training area. We're going to be having a tour of Kamal Jabor, which is our newest enhanced training village. We had about 12, 15 very, very small villages in our training area in the past. We're now working to enhance 9 of them and make them as realistic as possible so that our training can be as realistic as possible. So when you go on that tour, you'll see not only the realistic town, realistic role players, the special effects will blow your mind. Unbelievable. But the 1st Armored Division headquarters is here, but a number of other units that have arrived over this past year. Our 15th Sustainment Brigade arrived from Colonel Jim, that must be him, Colonel Jim Ryan, just arrived from Fort Hood in November. And they're already being prepared to deploy. I mentioned 2nd Brigade 180. 2nd Brigade 180 was activated last summer and is now attached to the Brigade Modernization Command. During this past year, we deactivated the 5th Brigade in the 1st Armored Division. As some of you know, it was a small brigade that was just here for the testing and evaluation. It had 2 battalions and a support battalion. But now with the 2nd Brigade, 1st Armored Division, we have an entire 6 battalion brigade that's going to be a part of the testing and evaluation so that all Army equipment in the future that goes to BCT will go through here in the 2nd Brigade 180 and Brigade Modernization Command. So we're very, very, very proud of that. We have the initial CAB elements have come in. Combination Brigade elements have come in. We now have 8 helicopters. How about that? 8 helicopters. have just arrived, and we're very, very, very proud of that. Our medical care, William Beaumont Medical Hospital has done wonders over this past year. We renovated 3 medical clinics. As many of you know, we opened up the Warrior Care Center for some traumatic brain injuries. We opened up the Soldier and Family Care Clinic, which is the largest of its kind in the Army. The dental clinic that was opened was a 64-chair dental clinic, again, the largest of its kind in the Army. And you're going to hear a lot of that. And I don't want to seem like we're bragging, but you know, there's an old saying in Texas, it ain't bragging if it's true. Bliss and Team Bliss is really taking it to another level as far as the quality of life for our soldiers and families. And that means a lot. That means a lot as far as recruiting soldiers to come here. Because once soldiers come here, El Paso Fort Bliss sells itself. The nicest people in the world, and have been to 71 countries, are right here in El Paso. Absolutely. And that's you. Thank you so much. We also opened up this past year the Warrior Transition Complex, which, as many of you may know, Vice President Biden announced that was the #1 project with the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. #1 project. And what that will do, there's a picture of it up there, will help our soldiers, our wounded warriors, transition into going back into the active component force, or going to transition into civilian life. But it is a world-class facility for world-class soldiers. And that's how it is overall. World-class facilities, world-class training for world-class soldiers, families, and civilians over here. Our garrison. This past year, our garrison was jamming under the leadership of Colonel Joe Spinelli. They won more awards in income than any other installation in the country, and it showed. The garrison was our lead element, and lead element in so many things. Our renewable energy efforts, they're taking that on. We were announced as one of only 2 net zero integrated installations in the country, ourselves and Fort Carson. But we've been well along the pathway to becoming a net zero installation for quite a while. Our garrisons tackled on the issue of housing. Last year, we were only scheduled to get maybe 400 more houses. But we looked at that with a housing list, family housing waiting list of about 2,700 soldiers, 2,721 to be exact. We knew we needed more housing. We've had great cooperation from the community here in El Paso for building more houses, but we also knew that we needed to build some of our own homes. So we're on a building boom of about 3,000 homes in the next couple of years. And you may have seen it, starting at Lee Gate near the airport, Lenoria. The area near Replica Museum will be a housing area. That's kind of cool. That's like a big vacant lot. Van Horn Housing, a place where I lived as a 2-year-old and 3-year-old. We demolished all the houses there. We're going to build up houses there. Right here in Biggs, Aero Vista will be expanded. And then eventually in East Bliss, we're going to build the first net zero community and neighborhood in the Department of Defense, and we think in the country. And that'll be right here at Team Bliss. We are so fortunate to be in this community. Just some of the things that occurred over the past year. AUSA alone had $186,000 worth of scholarships and programs that were in support of our soldiers and families. And that's just AUSA. We had over 130 corporations or companies and businesses that participated in the guardianship program. Every single one of our battalion size units, which is 42 and growing, 42 and growing, has a corporate guardian. And we're very, very proud of that. We are the envy of other communities in the Army because of the efforts that so many of you have done. There was a story that happened this year when we had one of our Army spouses, wives, moved herself and her child while her husband was aboard. Fortunately, it wasn't through the government, because it could have been some government liability and the government could pay, but the mover lost their stuff. And many of you saw that article in El Paso. And El Pasoans just poured out with support, whether it was money, whether it was food, and then a furniture store replaced all of her furniture. That was amazing. So please give yourselves a hand. Our deployment service this past year, we had 1,400 soldiers who are currently deployed. And they're from, well, actually, that number has grown dramatically. It's 1,400 soldiers prior to last week, and that was from our 142nd Combat Services Battalion, as well as our 88 units. But our 4th Brigade, 1AB, commanded by Colonel Scott McKean, his lovely wife Kim is here, is deploying as we speak. In fact, Colonel McKean got deployed last night. I'll tell you, saying goodbye to Colonel McKean is a tough one. He's a great brigade commander, has done wonders here, and if you've ever spoken to him, he speaks fluent Spanish, by the way. He's from California. His unit will be missed. They've got a tough mission in Iraq. They're going to be one of the last units to leave Iraq, and they're going to be spread around an area that took 3 divisions just a couple of years ago. So they have a very, very tough mission, as they'll also close down the FOBs and also ensure that there's stability in Iraq before we leave. But shaking the hands of our soldiers as they're getting on the plane, I saw this one soldier, PFC Cook, who was only 18. Think of that, only 18. He was 8 years old when 9/11 occurred. He was in the 3rd grade. When he decided to join the Army, he knew what he was getting into. And looking at that steely-eyed look in his face of confidence, not sure what he was getting into, but he was confident. He was confident in his leadership. He was confident in his training. And he got on the plane. It's tough seeing soldiers like that. You know, we're only in grade school when 9/11 occurred. But that's what our Army is made up of. Men and women like PFC Cook. Now that's just really a snapshot of this past year. As we look into the future, we have so many things that have been going on lately. Folks going in so many different directions, whether it's JTF North, or it's 32nd WNBC, or it's other units. You know, at times, with so many things going on, it's like we're building a plane in flight. And shall we build the plane in flight? Let's build the plane in flight.
Some people like to climb mountains. I like to build planes in the air. I grew up wanting to be on the land, wanting to be at this high. Sometimes the temperature on the altitude is 60 below. It's brisk, it's refreshing. You never know what's going to come across up here. Hey, you mean Howard? These people back here, that's like the word. That's why we build airplanes in the sky.
We're not just building a plane here. We're building a dream.
I love this job.
Cool. Now those kids were smaller. I mean, they were glad they were building a plane in flight, but we hope not to build a plane in flight too much longer. As you know, the Fort Bliss is one of the largest expansions of any Army post since World War II. But that is nearly complete. So now it's time to move on. We built that plane, now we have to fly and use it. It's like building an F-16. Now it's time we got to fight it. And we're going to do that. Over this next year, different organizations will be doing different things. 32nd WNBC, once again, is going to be deploying units. This time, or next year, 1188 Brigade is going to deploy. 1188 Brigade headquarters, which hasn't deployed in a while. That again will put a little more stress on our soldiers and families, especially 1188 Brigade overall. For Joint Task Force North, we're going to expand what they're doing along the border. The 1st Army Division is going to send units to assist the JTF North in some of the reconnaissance operations between Texas and Arizona along the border. We're We're going to have other units that will be involved with that. Some of our ADA units, as well as some of our aerial reconnaissance and exploitation units will be a part of that. Also, JTF North soon will have a change in command. Brigadier General Mike Bills, who we hate to see go, will be changing command next month. And Colonel Promoter Mark Stanley will be taking JTF North. And we're very, very proud of that unit. For the Sergeant Major Academy is starting next week with 644 students from 33 countries. Again, every time I see the Sergeant Major Academy, I'm always amazed at the fact that it's here at Fort Bliss, because it really is an Army institution that we're all so very, very proud of. For First Army, this year we will see our mobilization and demobilization load increase. By the end of 2012, Fort Bliss will surpass Camp Shelby as the #1 mobilization site and training site in our Army for individual training and mobile and demob. And it's something to be proud of. And what that means also is you'll see more soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines that will be coming through. And following 2012, the Air Force is going to be increasing the number of airmen security men that will be training here. Right now, the Air Force trains about 1,600 airmen here. That's going to increase to about 10,000 in 2013. So we're getting prepared for that. Our Special Forces, the Army Special Forces now, will send all their Special Forces personnel that are headed to Afghanistan will now come through Fort Bliss for their pre-mission training. And that's coming up. We also have our MPs. All reserve component MPs come through Fort Bliss. In fact, you've read about Guantanamo Bay and what's going to happen. We're not sure what's going to happen. But every MP that goes to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, trains here at Fort Bliss. Again, our training area is so large, we can put them in different places so that they have privacy in their training. But with 1.2 million acres, we have a lot of flexibility in what we're doing. Our Brigade Modernization Command will now be on a schedule that we can all really track in the future. And that is the network integration evaluations starting this year will be in the fall and the spring. So we can count on that. Before we weren't sure exactly where they're going to take place, but now we know. It'll be in the fall and the spring. But what that means for 2nd Brigade 1AD and Brigade Modernization Command is a lot of field time. As far as we're concerned, when they go to the field, it's a deployment. The same kind of stress you see on families of our deployed soldiers in theater, we're seeing with the 2nd Brigade 1AD because of the amount of field time that they have. So they'll be a unit that will need a lot of support from people. For the 1st Army Division, the future for this next year is that, in fact, I was talking to Sergeant Major Davenport about this, is our new Iron 7, in addition to our post-Army Major, is the 1st Army Division headquarters will deploy to Afghanistan next year, 2012. Let's talk about that real quick. That will be the first time that the headquarters of Fort Bliss at the installation level will deploy to combat, we think, since the punitive expedition back in 1914. Unbelievable. What will that mean for Fort Bliss? Well, we're preparing for that now. We will bring in a senior commander, will probably be a 1-star, or a colonel promoter. As a senior commander of Fort Bliss, we will lead, and we're going through things now, who we need to lead to make sure that we have a continuity here. Because it has to be a quality element that stays here. Because momentum must be maintained. And that's going to happen in 2012. We'll deploy to Afghanistan, to southern Afghanistan, to RC South, Regional Command South in Kandahar, where Amir Kokstan is right now, as a doctor in the medical facility there in Kandahar. Other units will be deployed. Our 3rd Brigade 1AD, the Bulldogs, commanded by Colonel Mark Landis, they'll start deploying to Afghanistan next month, the end of next month. And they'll be going to RC East. We have the 1st Brigade 1AD, which just returned from Iraq, as you know, last year. They're going through their striker conversion, and soon they'll be preparing to deploy by the end of 2012 also to Afghanistan with their Stryker vehicles. I mentioned the 15th Sustainment Brigade. 15th Sustainment Brigade will also deploy to Afghanistan next year. And as you can add up the numbers, if you look at January of this year, January 2011, 1% of all soldiers deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq were from Fort Bliss. But by the end of this year, Fort Bliss's share will move up to 12%. 12% of all soldiers deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq will be from Fort Bliss. That is going to be tough on our soldiers and families. Nearly a third, if not more than a third, of our soldier population will deploy over this next year. We will need support from the community, and there's no better community to support soldiers and families than El Paso. We're very, very proud of that. Our Combat Aviation Brigade, that been saying that it's coming, it really is coming. Like I said, we have 8 helicopters here. We'll activate the 1st AD Combat Aviation Brigade in September. But they're on a short timeline to also deploy. They'll deploy in December 2012 or maybe January 2013. Again, a lot of stress on our families that we're bringing in from the first AD camp, which they're coming from Fort Hood, the old 4th ID Combat Aviation Brigade. A lot is going on in the area of 1st Air Division and our upcoming deployments. That's more deployments with the 93rd Infantry Battalion that will be coming up. We just received the 76th Expeditionary Signal Battalion, which has come from Fort Huachuca here to Fort Bliss. We're very, very proud of that unit. And for William Beaumont, the future is so bright. On August 12th, we will finally break ground on the $1 billion William Beaumont Army Medical Campus. How about that? Finally! That will change how we do medical care in the Fort Bliss, El Paso area. Now, it won't be primary care because we'll have enough of our clinics to do the primary care, which is very interesting. We're also going to start something called community-based hospitals, community-based clinics. Our first of which, in fact, the story behind that is the Surgeon General of the Army was talking to a bunch of us, the installation commanders, about a year ago. And he was saying, well, we're pretty proud that we're building our 3rd community-based clinic in Fayetteville, North Carolina, outside Fort Bragg. We've got 2 at Fort Hood. I raised my hand and said, sure, what about Fort Bliss? Oh, well, they don't want one there. So, I'm sorry, I'm the commander. We want one. So, to his credit, Jim Schumacher, our Surgeon General of the Army, is our first community clinic. Will be here next, or 2012. By this time next year, we'll have a community-based clinic that will start out in the Northeast. But I will be satisfied to have one in the Northeast, the East, and the West. And that's for our soldiers and families who don't have to come on post, so they can be in their own communities where they're living. Because 70% of our families live in El Paso. And we're very, very proud of that. So William Beaumont, you're doing a lot of good things. And we had a change of command for William Beaumont. General Wong moved on to the Southern MedCom command in San Antonio. And we now have Colonel Dennis Doyle, who's our new commander of William Beaumont. He's already making a difference. We started having a clinic now open on Saturdays, which has been such a convenience to our soldiers and families. So unbelievable. We appreciate that with William Beaumont. In our garrison, as we look to the future and we're trying to reach our goals for renewable energy, this time last year I mentioned that by December 2015, we produced more than we consumed in renewable energy. We're on the glide path to do that. We're working closely with El Paso Electric. By the end of 2012, we hope to break ground on a solar facility for Fort Bliss, on Fort Bliss, of at least 5 megawatts. Ideally, in the future, 20 megawatts. We'll start with 5 megawatts. And when I say megawatts, Fort Bliss consumes approximately 60 megawatts a year. So we have a ways to go. We're working with our partners, our housing partners, Balfour Baby, and they're working on putting solar arrays on rooftops, solar arrays as carports, for a total of about 13 megawatts of power, which will go into our grid also. Again, slowly but surely, we're going to get to our renewable energy goals. But we are leading the Army in that kind of innovation through our garrison, which is making such a difference in the future. Overall, we feel so fortunate, again, to be a part of this community. The Freedom Crossing PX commissary complex that we opened in November really was the largest PX commissary complex in the Department of Defense. We appreciate all the support, all the people who are going to shop there, which is making a difference. We appreciate Mighty West, where are you, who said that, hey, why don't you open up other gates? So we have easy access now on 4 gates. You may not be aware of that. It's now from 8 o'clock in the morning to midnight on our Cassidy Gate, our Lee Gate, our Biggs Gate, and then our Global Reach Gate, or maybe Constitution Gate right now until Global Reach comes back in. But that is something, because since 9/11, we feel like we've been disconnected as an army with you, the American people. And when I was a young boy growing up here in El Paso, moving out, just going from East El Paso to Northeast, you just went to Fort Bliss. Well, now you can do that now by just showing your driver's license and proof of insurance. But we are moving out in that direction. We've had positive feedback from so many of you on the easier access for Fort Bliss. What do you think? Oh. Been asked a number of times of what can we do? What can I, citizen in El Paso, organization in El Paso, do for our soldiers? You're already doing so much, and we appreciate that. But there are things that can be done. Recently, the First Lady, Michelle Obama, and the Second Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, came out with some things that can be done. Things as simple as even mowing your neighbor's lawn if that neighbor's spouse is deployed every now and then and helping out. Or fixing a swamp cooler next door of a neighbor whose spouse is deployed. Adopting the soldier program, which we are expanding, as many of you know. When you're deployed, a letter from somebody, from your hometown or from your surrounding community, just means a lot when you're out there by yourself. So Adopt the Soldier program is something that can be done. The corporate guardianship program, even more businesses getting involved with that, so that we have sponsors or guardians, even down to county level in some of the times. There's a lot of room for improvement in that area. AUSA, support our own AUSA. Our AUSA is kicking butt here in El Paso and Fort Bliss. But comparatively to other installations, it's relatively small. So upping the membership and helping out in that area. As my lawyers right now are having a heart attack when I'm talking about that. Oh. But there are so many things that we can do. The sky's the limit. There's things that have been done on Fort Bliss. Rock the Fort. And your participation in Rock the Fort has been awesome. The El Paso Symphony Orchestra being a part of our Independence Day celebration. There were 10,000 people at Biggs Park, just down the road there, on July 3rd for that great concert. Supposedly it's the largest recording crowd that we've ever had at Biggs Park. And that's because of support from all of you in El Paso. We appreciate the support of the Diablos games, free tickets, and so many tickets to so many things throughout the El Paso region. We just appreciate that. And it's something to be in a community that cares as much about our soldiers as we do. That is something. Not every community can say that. And it really is about our soldiers, isn't it? Our soldiers and families who sacrifice so much, and our soldiers who wear the uniform. What I'd like to do real quick is mention or recognize 2 of our soldiers who wear the uniform. Our first is Staff Sergeant Alan Roy Froh, who is a team leader of the 47th Transportation Company of our 15th Sustainment Brigade. During nearly 10 years of combat, we've learned there are no front lines and the enemy will attack, of course, anywhere. In December 2007, Staff Sergeant Froh was on a route clearance mission. And a route clearance mission, if you're not familiar with that, is, many of us try to avoid IEDs, improvised explosive devices. He was with a route clearance unit that seeks them out so that the rest of us don't have to go through them. So he was on a route clearance mission in Iraq when his vehicle was struck by a roadside bomb. The explosion sent shrapnel into his back, and he suffered mild traumatic brain injury, earning him a Purple Heart. Well, Staff Sergeant Froh has bounced back, and he says there's no better way to serve my country than being a soldier. We're very proud of Staff Sergeant Froh, and for his exceptional performance of duty, he's been selected to interview at the White House Transportation Section this fall, which means he'll drive a vehicle in the presidential motorcade. His loving wife, Val Froh, has been right by his side, and they're expecting their first child this summer. Staff Sergeant Froh, if your wife is here also, please stand so we can recognize you. And thank the Froh family for the dedication as well. There they are. Oh! I'd also like to introduce to you Sergeant Gary Schuler, who was a team leader in the fuel platoon of the Alpha Company of 501st Brigade Support Battalion of 1st Brigade, 1st Army Division. Now, last week, on the 28th of July, one of Sergeant Schuler's soldiers, PFC Denray Plummer, was in a combative's training accident in which he fractured the 6th vertebrae on his neck. I'll tell you, when that happened, that went through the entire chain of command. Because what the doctors at William Beaumont said is, if they did not do surgery immediately or soon, that he could lose all of his feelings in his legs and his limbs. He would become a quadriplegic. Sergeant Schuler immediately reacted as the first responder. He was the first person by PFC Plummer's bed in the hospital. And Sergeant Schuler stayed with PFC Plummer throughout the night, providing the chain of command with information on PFC Plummer's progress and coordinating with PFC Plummer's family to travel from Minnesota to El Paso. And Sergeant Schuler was there to see the family upon arrival at the airport and escorted them to the accommodations. All I know is, when I went over there to see PFC Plummer, he was still in surgery. It was a 4 to 5 hour surgery. And there was Sergeant Schuler. Sergeant Schuler by himself, waiting. His action last week really brought credit upon not only his family, but Team Bliss and our nation. Sergeant Schuler, job well done. Where are you? Please let us recognize you. As I said, it's about the uniform. What I'd like to do is show you a very, very short video that our Army PAO with our recruiting command made and I guess filmed primarily here at Fort Bliss. 90% of locations at Fort Bliss, 90% of soldiers at Fort Bliss. But what it is recognition by the senior leadership of our Army that Fort Bliss is the future of our Army. Let's roll the video. filmed here in Ruidoso. How about that? You know, the last 10 years of war, that uniform has served as a symbol of freedom throughout this world. That uniform represents the most powerful nation in the world. And what we hope that you will also see when you look at that uniform on soldiers here is that those are men and women that are part of one of the greatest teams. Team Bliss, a part of El Paso, our Army's future. And I'll just tell you, by the end of the day, or at the end of the day, we just want to make you and the American people proud. Thank you so much.